This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Hello and welcome to this FA Cup edition preview here on Red Side of the Trent. Today's show we're going to talk to some regulars about the game ahead on Sunday. We're also going to hear from Amos Murphy from the City Ramble podcast to get the Manchester City point of view. So let's get into it. Delighted to be joined by Lee Clark, Reece Coy and Mason Coy, all here together to preview the Man City game. Lee, how are you first of all?
Yep, sound. Good to be back in the saddle, so to speak, after a few weeks off, I suppose.
Yeah. Mason, are you well?
Yeah, very good, mate. Thank you very much.
Reece, good as well?
Yeah, all good, mate. Thank you.
Good. Look, we're going to recap Tottenham anyway, because I know none of you have had a say on this pod one, and I quite like to do that. I quite like to start off with the brighter spark at the top of the show. So, Lee, obviously watching from home, good result. I mean, Christian knew it was never in doubt.
Yeah, I wasn't quite as confident as Christian, but yeah, Christian just hates all the London clubs, doesn't he? He just can't stand them. Yeah, it was. I was pleasantly surprised actually, not that I'd lost my head like some fans had after back-to-back defeats to Villa and Everton, but I don't know. I just still look at Tottenham as that sort of team that all season I've expected them to burst into life against someone, and I was quite concerned that they'd not. With Europe on their minds, I thought they might leave one of their big centre-backs out. As it turns out, one of them's just a dirty sod who can't really do that much defending other than foul, which played right into our hands. So, yeah, thankfully we weren't the team where Tottenham did actually burst into life, and they're going to save that for Liverpool this weekend. But yeah, the first 20 minutes was bloody brilliant, weren't it, I suppose? We just looked like scoring every time we went forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the efficiency definitely came back. I mean, Mason, you kind of got to give us our kudos. I mean, bounce back ability, as you said on the preview, I think it was, and how good of a result is that? And I think Nuno's played a blinder really with what he did in terms of team selection and everything else.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's not for the first time though, is it? Either with Nuno. I think there's always a meltdown when the lineup comes out on X, whatever we want to call it today. Everyone has their usual meltdown. Why is Toffolo playing? Why is Danilo playing? But you've just got to trust Nuno. He's got more than enough credit in the bank, more than enough. And I think that showed. I think everyone who he picked was excellent. I thought Toffolo was excellent. Danilo was excellent for 60 odd minutes, which can only be good for us. Even his tactics, the way he tweaks stuff is brilliant. I love how he's adaptable to different teams. I think he's probably the first manager since I'd say I've been alive that does that. That this little tweak to 4-4-1-1, 4-4-2 is excellent, mate. So yeah, buzzing overall. I think, like Lee said, we blew him away. We blew him away first half an hour. I don't think they were expecting us to be that good. And I think that was all driven by Elliot Anderson, to be honest. I thought he was absolutely sensational.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Reece, you got a bit of a shout out for your flap stam comment in our WhatsApp group. I had to mention it, but it's funny how we keep getting called boring. We keep getting kind of battened back like, oh, Forest is slipping down now and everything else. But the fight and the spirit we've got amongst this team has been kind of just, I don't think it's a surprise anymore, especially for us supporters.
No, not at all. I mean, the game reminded me of the Wolves away game. No, where they're just hammering crosses into the box, just constantly. And it was Strand Larson wanted who missed probably a hat trick of chances, and this time it was Richarlison. It was a little bit similar to that. And people can write us off. You can get upset that we've got whatever XG, and there's so many ways to win a game of football. It really doesn't matter. I've drowned all that noise out a long time ago. people can say and think what they like. 3 points is all that matters. And as I've been saying in our group, as long as we better one of them other teams' results every week, it doesn't matter. We're going to make it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just sticking with yourself, Reece, was it a good result that Man City beat Villa on Tuesday night as well? Would you say?
What to then if we beat Brentford, I suppose, yeah, because we go 6 points clear of them, then don't we?
Yeah.
Well, I said again, didn't I? It's a bit of a free hit because we're always going to better one of their two results, regardless of the result. Because if they both draw, okay, the only way we could do it is if we lose to Brentford, but I'm quite confident we won't do that. It depends which way you look at it. To be honest, it really does. I'd rather Villa be there than City is probably my only argument to it. That's the only difference that I'd have in it. But either or, doesn't matter who won it. To be honest, a draw is the perfect result. But yeah, it doesn't make no difference.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk now about the game at the weekend. Obviously, it's quite a big game. It doesn't seem that big for City. Lee, obviously, 26,000 tickets they've only sold. But we were just discussing off air that it's maybe, I mean, it's a long trip. They've been down there twice a year for the last 14 years, 28 times if you want to do the math. It's a lot and it's expensive. But how big a game is this for us lot? Because we've sold our allocation. It almost feels like a cup final day, which is a bit, I hate it because it is at Wembley, but I guess like we don't get there very often.
Well, I mean, there's always, just using the reffing that I do, I think the games you always want are the semi-finals and not the finals, because a semi-final is really, for want of a better expression, shit or bust. You may as well go out in the first round if you're losing the semi-final. Whereas if you get to a final, you get the teams who have got the day out, they're happy to get to the final, whereas a semi-final doesn't really feel like that. And you tend to find, I hope this doesn't backfire on me, but you tend to find that the better games of football are the semi-finals. I look at the Man U Coventry semi-final last year, it was brilliant. Would that game have panned out in the same fashion had it been a final? Probably not. So yeah, it's of course it's a big game. It's as big as it gets for us in the last, possibly in my lifetime, I suppose. I mean, you could say the playoff final was bigger on the basis that we've not been in the Prem for 23 years, I suppose. But if you take that nugget of information out, is a Championship playoff final bigger than an FA Cup semi-final? Probably not. So yeah, of course it's a big game. I don't think anyone should be downplaying that it's a free hit or anything like that. I think it's nice that we've got other priorities as well. So it's not season defining. If we lose tomorrow, Sunday, and then go on and secure Champions League, it's still been a really good season. So yeah, it's a big game. It's probably a bit of a shame we're playing City. I think I'd have probably preferred a final against City and a semi-final against one of the other two, because I think City's pedigree in this competition and they're going to be used to the occasion of a Wembley semi-final. I think that does make it a little bit more difficult for us. But as we've proved this season, and as we've already said today, who knows what could happen with Nuno's Reds. So, yeah, excited for it.
Yeah, Mason, do you think the 10,000 extra supporters will play any sort of factor, or does that kind of go out the window because of City's experience at Wembley?
Yes and no. I think us having extra fans there will obviously give our players a boost. In terms of their players, from their perspective, no, I don't think so, just because of how good they are. And like you said, they're so used to that occasion. I'd be quite concerned if they weren't for that occasion, if they weren't up for it. I don't think they should be footballers. If you can't go up for a semi-final at Wembley, you shouldn't be there in the first place. So now, not in that sense, but in terms of for us having the extra bodies in the stadium, yeah, 100%. And I think our fans were unbelievable at Wembley last time. So hopefully we can replicate that. I've seen Forza put something on earlier as well. So fingers crossed that goes really well and it G's everybody up that little extra 10%.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Reece, I did want to ask as well, is this more pressure on City or us because of City? This is the only chance now City have got a trophy, and a trophyless season for a Pep Guardiola is, I mean, it'd make my year, to be honest, because I think it'd be so funny.
I think there's more pressure on us personally as a squad, because these players, if I'm a City fan looking at it, they're playing European Cup finals, World Cups, Euros. There's more pressure on our squad mentally. There's more pressure on Pep and his team to produce something. So a bit of both really for me. If I was to stick it on them and put a bit of pressure on them, then yeah, I would say them. But it's just another challenge to rise to for us. Being wrote off again, I'm sure the pundits and obviously we'll be down there, so we probably won't catch any of the pre-match, but I'm sure we'll be completely and utterly wrote off by everyone in the commentary position, right up until that final whistle, whether that's a final penalty kick that we score again. And I know you don't want that, mate, but I think that's the way it's going to go, to be honest with you. But now pressure's on us both in different capacity. Then players, Phil Foden, etc., have got to step up and show the worth, and we've got to mentally prepare for such a big occasion that our players aren't as used to as theirs.
Yeah, it's Portugal Euro 2016 vibes. Although they won their semi-final in 90 minutes against Wales, so hopefully maybe Man City turn into Wales for the day, and we can kind of storm over them. So that'd be nice. I mean, Lee, we've all got to talk about this. I feel free to all get involved with this, but we've got a bit of a conundrum when it comes to fullback. Nico Williams and Olaina. Well, we don't know about Olaina completely, although if you're going to go off the rest of his football, he had a grade 2 tear in his calf, so could be out, but we don't really know with the rumour mill. But it seems like because of Toffolo's emergence on Monday night, he might well get the nod, whether that's at right back or left back. So what's your kind of thinking for it?
Yeah, I mean, that's another disappointing thing for us, that we're not going into it with a full quota of players, I suppose. But as a great man once said, next man up, isn't it? That's what it proved on Monday, and that's what it's going to prove again this weekend. I'm a huge fan of people playing when they've done enough to keep the shirt, and I think Toffolo did that against Tottenham. To be fair, I know it's a different animal against City, but it is a case of needs must, I guess. I think what you've got to do is if Toffolo gets the nod, you've got to kind of look to tweak other areas, haven't you? We saw it on Monday night where Danilo was obviously tasked with making sure he got back to help Toffolo out with a bit of pace and a bit of energy in the defensive third. So, yeah, it'll be. I mean, it's Nuno always uses the word solutions, doesn't he, in his press conferences? So, yeah, I think there's lots of little conundrums for him, because it's not literally just a case of picking the fullbacks. He's kind of got to pick, because they're probably going to be makeshift, whoever they are. He's kind of got to, not makeshift, that's not the right term, but you know what I mean, fringe players. It's probably going to be Moreno and Toffolo, I would imagine. So yeah, he's kind of got to pick a midfield that can complement that when we haven't got the ball, which, let's face it, against City, we're not going to have much of the ball, are we? So yeah, I think it'll be Toffolo. I don't see any reason why after Monday that he doesn't deserve to get the nod, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Mason, what would you do if say we get to 90 minutes? Because Toffolo did mention in his post-match that he was really struggling, obviously playing 90 minutes for the first time in the Premier League since May last year, which is actually quite astonishing, really. He said the pickle juice didn't quite help him. So if it's the case, if we go beyond 90 minutes and we need someone to then come on and fill in there, what would your solution be if you was Nuno in that scenario?
If he's not on the pitch already, I think the fairly obvious one's Morata. I know it's square pegs and round holes, but we ain't got another choice, have we? He's left-footed. It's the only reason. There's no other reasoning behind it. I don't think we've got any other players that. Well, I wouldn't put whoever else is on the bench there. Like if you go off Saturday. When did we play? Monday night.
Monday.
Go off Monday night. The bench. There was no one really who was another fullback, was there? Really? You only had Sosa, who plays out wide. So no, it'd be Morata, mate. But like I said, Nuno surprises before. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. To be honest, we can all say it's going to be Moreno or Toff. I think that's more than likely going to be the case. But after 90, mate, who knows? Let's hope it doesn't go that far, and let's hope we've won in normal time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the one saving grace is, Reece, I'd say, is is if you've got a left back playing at right back, Jeremy Doku or Jack Grealish tend to want to cut inside. So you're defending on their strong side, which is what Nico Williams' strength been this season playing left back, hasn't it? So at least you could say that it's not all kind of doom and gloom playing a left foot or at right back, is it? Because we've been playing a right foot or a left back all year.
Yeah, it's I don't know why in football the transition from the left side to the right side seems harder than the right to the left for everyone. It just seems strange. I think because it's such a niche thing having left-footed players that they always tend to be on the left side. So it is a strange one. I mean, I want to throw a real rogue one out there, and it's just off the back of before the Spurs game. I was driving back just before it started, and Nuno was on BBC Radio Nottingham saying he's going to need everyone in his squad to play a part. And I think his wording was, even if they don't play that position or don't want to play that position, they will be willing to play it. And I just thought there was something really like hidden in that. And I just thought there's one player which everyone will scoff at and laugh at, but he has played there and we could adopt a wing back. And if it really hit the fan, Hudson-Odoi can play right wing back because he's done it for Chelsea. That's the only other option that I could see if Toff, God forbid, got injured or Moreno got injured, and you wanted to stick that handsome Dorman in the centre to come on and close the game out and keep him central. You could probably put Hudson-Odoi right wing back. It's not my first option. I don't want people sort of hammering me in the comments saying I don't know nothing about football. It's just a thought process that he has played there and he can do it. He did it somewhat reluctantly under Tuchel, but he did it. And if it got us to a final at another trip out to Wembley, I think he would do it for us.
Yeah, I mean, his commitment to the cause this season has been sensational. So I think like for a one-off game where he might have to fill in for a bit, maybe not the whole 90 minutes, then you never know, or 120 minutes, you just never know. But I did want to just ask you all about if you've seen the video of Morato doing kind of the fist pumps, and when he gets like basically everyone starts doing the whole geeing up of like, oh, he kind of like looks at the crowd like he's going to fight someone, and then suddenly realizes, oh god, I've got to do this kind of thing, and it's quite actually amusing when you first see it. I don't know if you've seen it.
And it's the weakest fist bump for such an aggressive looking man as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
For that towering stature, he doesn't really commit to it. It's almost like you can see it in his eyes, thinking, "Oh, what have I done here? This isn't me. This." I've got to carry it on now. But that shows you though the players are committed. They're all there, and like if he's doing that in front of however many thousand at the end, whether it's penalties or otherwise, then so be it. He can do it as half-hearted as he likes for me because I'll be chanting along.
Well, Alex Moreno he'd scurried away for I don't know if he was just had a bit of a marred that he didn't get on, but I think it was a blinder from Nuno personally. We'll get into team lineups in a bit and we'll talk a bit more about it, but we are going to go and talk to our correspondent from the City Ramble in Amos Murphy. Delighted to be joined by Amos Murphy from the City Ramble podcast to preview the FA Cup semi-final. Amos, how are we first of all?
Yeah, good. City haven't been a car crash in the last month, so smiling for once this season.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to touch on your recent result against Aston Villa in the league. Obviously, makes puts a bit more spice into the pot, I guess, in the race for Champions League games. How important was that win for you guys at the Etihad on Tuesday night, should I say?
Yeah, massive. I mean, a massive couple of days, really. Finding 2 goals late on against Everton, obviously, as you guys sort of found out the week prior or the week or two prior, a very difficult team, especially under David Moyes, hard to score against. They don't necessarily have a lot in attack, so that was big. And then to back it up, obviously, an even later goal against Aston Villa, just monumental. And it's given City a bit of breathing room, even though you look at the table, it's still like separated by a matter of points. But in this tight Champions League race, relatively speaking, it is a tiny little bit of sort of wriggle room. And you look at City's fixtures in the league, at least. Wolves obviously doing really well at the moment, but still down towards the bottom of the table. Southampton, Bournemouth, and then finishing up with Fulham. Touch wood, from my point of view, you would think that's possibly enough. But yeah, massive win. Absolutely massive win.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get to speak earlier in the season, unfortunately. I think we just couldn't be able to arrange anything. But
Yeah.
like the form on papers looks decent since we beat you at the City Ground 1-0, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But has it been as good as it has been on paper, or are the results kind of still papering over some cracks from this unusual Man City side, which are quite frail in some respects, but still obviously terrifying to going forward. And when you look at it,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's difficult because performance-wise, look, if you'd have shown me that Everton game this time last year, it'd easily go down as one of City's worst performances of the season, just because how really, it wasn't the sort of City we've come to know, expect, etc., etc. But at the same time, given the circumstance, given the situation, City have found a way to be a little bit more solid, which hasn't been the case in the last, all of this season. And I think sort of some supporters are still very upset the fact that, City aren't blowing away teams 5-6-0. And to that I say, go outside, touch grass, and sort of could get into the real world. But I think even like genuine complaints, you can look at it and say it is a bit stodgy, it is a little bit sort of safe, conservative. But you look at the sort of the way City have been torn apart by, some genuinely bad teams in the Premier League and in sort of Europe this season. I think you go, yeah, fair enough. It is better for City to be a little bit more sturdy and a little bit more hard to beat, and it's kind of been the inverse Guardiola philosophy in a way. He's sort of built from the back, and it seems to be working at the moment. So can't really complain.
Is it a little exciting actually to get back to being almost having to have a refresh and go again, because Guardiola's built teams over the last few years, but I feel like he had a team where you had like a kind of a cast almost that were there every season, and now like players are starting to actually get older, like Bernardo Silva and Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne. It looks like he's going to leave at the end of the season. Obviously, he's put that post out. So is it quite exciting actually that this is happening, and now you can actually see a rebuild from Guardiola, and obviously other teams now competing, a lot of other teams competing, not just your usual Liverpool and Arsenal, but like ourselves, Bournemouth, Fulham, Brighton. It's quite exciting actually, and Newcastle and Villa in that mix as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at the end of City lost the FA Cup final to United last season, having beaten United the season prior on the way to winning the treble. And I think a lot of people, myself included, at that point were like, okay, cool. This team looks like it's coming towards an end. We could really do with this sort of refresh coming what was last summer, 2024. And it just simply didn't happen. And it is maybe sort of hindsight 2020 vision in the sense that maybe City had a drop off tiny little bit, but injuries, Rodri going down, the defence at one point was sort of being cobbled together by a collection of teenagers and midfielders, and it wasn't great. So maybe if those injuries don't happen, City is still sort of second, third, qualify for the Champions League comfortably. I don't know, but it felt like this drop off was certainly coming at the back end of last season, and it has kind of taken a bit of a knock on proceedings, maybe set City back a little bit longer than they thought. Obviously, we saw in January they went out, they got Marmoush, they got Kisanov, Nico Gonzalez, Vita Heiss, who's, I think he's 18, 19, something like that. So, very young in some degrees players that are certainly for the next generation and the next iteration of this club. So there is certainly excitement there. I would say there's a little bit of frustration, and I'm not sort of gonna be sort of don't get the violins out. It's fine, guys. You don't have to feel sorry for us, because the last decade has just been astonishing. But there is definitely like I said, there were definitely signs last year. So there is that sort of 2%, 3% worth of frustration. Like we kind of saw these players on the sort of last legs a little bit. You maybe could have moved them on sooner, but hey, look, you can't. Like the complaints are at a minimum. So yeah, but on the original point, certainly looking forward, that excitement is definitely there.
Yeah, how big is this game coming up against ourselves, Amos? I mean, it's been the talk of Nottingham for a long time actually, but I heard that stat which has been ringing around. I'm sure you know about it. City have gone to Wembley 28 times since 2011 or something ridiculous. So you've seen Wembley more times than anyone else, I would have thought, and you see them. It's like a second home for you because you've played there at least twice a year, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. Like, no wonder like City aren't really selling out the allocation. Everyone's probably bored of going to Wembley.
You're spot on there, pal. I mean, it is sort of the novelty has worn off, and I guess for Forest fans, it is a massive occasion and totally understandably so. I am of the opinion that FA Cup semi-finals shouldn't be at Wembley, and that may sound, harsh on teams who don't necessarily get that day out as much as maybe other ones. But I've always felt like Wembley Stadium should be reserved for the final, the pinnacle. Like, I
agree with you.
Yeah, Wembley's so special in my opinion, but only on those final days. Cup semi-final, I don't know. It just doesn't have that same sort of charm. But anyway, that's a sort of a personal gripe. But I mean, it's an FA Cup semi-final. I'm trying to think off the top of my head the last time City weren't in it, because it's going back quite a good number of years. Maybe 2016, something like that. 2016, 17. In fact, I think it is, or 2017, 18. I think is the actual one, because I think this was 7 seasons in a row Guardiola's qualified, you call it that, got through
That's some
to
record,
the FA.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is genuinely astonishing, and I think weirdly there is a frustration with City fans that they've only in Pep's time as manager won 2 FA Cups, which is still a lot. And I mean, how many clubs, when we won our first one after 30 odd years in 2011, I'd have been happy with that. But I think, you can understand that sort of, you ask somebody on the street how many FA Cups you think City have won under Guardiola, you'd probably think, the amount of times we've been to, like I said, 7 semi-finals. I think it's 8 actually in his time as manager, because he did it in his first season. You'd probably think it's more than 2. Conversion-wise, it isn't necessarily as high as you might expect. But in terms of, from a fan point of view, I think this FA Cup semi-final is massive. From the manager's point of view, I think if you said, okay, you can lose the semi-final on Sunday, but you can win all 4 remaining league games, possibly he'd sway to that. But for fans, like, I am not, unless City go on and win the Champions League next season, I'm not going to look back on the 2024-25 race for top 5 as one of my sort of abiding memories of a football fan. But I will always remember FA Cup final day or winning the FA Cup or something like that. So for supporters, I think, it's still a big day, regardless of sort of the amount of times that you've done so and been here before.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, because I think with the Champions League being a little bit up in the air, it's kind of what do you want? Do you want to win a trophy, or do you want to be back in Europe? And I think people want to be back in Europe. I mean, it's been such a big topic of debate from Forest fans.
Well, what do you want? What do you want? I'm throwing it on you. What do you want?
Well, I want to win stuff, mate. I want to win everything. I want Champions League and the trophy. Because you know what, like, it doesn't happen very often.
Don't we all?
It doesn't happen for us very often. So why not be greedy? But like, I think for me, I mean, I will probably talk about this on your podcast. I tend to lean towards getting Champions League football, because it just might not happen again. There's so many people that are already writing us off for next season, saying, "Oh, they'll fall away no matter what competition they're in next season, because it will be too much for them." But Champions League gives you that opportunity to invest in the squad and keep your players and everything else. Because obviously, Morgan Gibbs-White's been linked to a move to the Etihad. I hope that doesn't happen, or it's for a loss of money. So,
I've got an inverse thought on that, because we're obviously, unsurprisingly, we've been speaking about him as well. And just sort of off topic, I don't understand the disrespect. He is absolutely good enough to sign for City. Anyway, I just feel like, I wonder if Forest getting Champions League might make them be more partial to selling, because they'll have more money coming in. I don't know. Obviously, the contract situation's a difficult one, but that's probably for a different day.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one, depending on which competition we get. We've obviously gave ourselves a really good chance by beating Spurs, and then like we say, we've got Brentford on Thursday night after the game on Sunday. So it's a bit of a difficult one. It's like, what do you do? But Marinakis, who's our owner, is a very ambitious person. He'll want us to try and at least go for. I mean, we've had like 4 penalty shootouts, I think, this season. I think 3 of them obviously in the FA Cup. So it's we've been saying it, we've been liking it to Portugal's Euro 2016 win, but they won their semi-final in 90 minutes. Amos. So
is that an omen? Is that an omen, perhaps?
Hopefully.
Does that make us Wales? I think that's.
How's the surprise of Forest? Obviously, last time we met, we beat you 1-0. Then you've not lost since then in the league or in the cup. So that it's kind of similar to Brighton. Actually, we beat them 7-0. They went on a bit of a run, drew to yourselves before they played us again in the FA Cup, and then we beat them. And they've been rubbish again since then. So I don't really know what to say.
Yeah, hopefully that isn't the case. But I mean, on that Forest game, I know it's going back a few weeks now. I mean, again, you put it into context. This time last year, it had been an objectively bad performance from City, but it just to me felt like City lost to a team who were better on the day. And it since sort of maybe end of January onwards, that's kind of been where I've been with City. I think if you think about the defeats they've had, off the top of my head, I think it's only Liverpool, Real Madrid twice, Forest. I don't think I'm missing anything obvious there, but I would say this season, all 3 teams better than City. So I can't necessarily have that.
Arsenal arguably away.
Yeah, true. Jesus, you can imagine.
Even Tottenham beat you 4-0, and they're rubbish, Amos.
Yeah. Although Tottenham was in November, I'm talking January onwards, when City kind of started to cobble themselves together. But I think that Arsenal game was the first week of February, so I guess it unfortunately just about sort of ekes into that one. So yeah, the point being that Forest game, I thought Forest had a game plan, they played well. It was always going to be a 1-goal game, and City might have found that goal. I think De Bruyne maybe had a shot that was a bit tame, and Sell saved it easily, or Doku had maybe pulled some out. That it could have gone either way. So I'm not I haven't been ruminating on that too much, but Nottingham Forest in a one-off game with a cup final on the line, it isn't what I'd necessarily ask ChatGPT to draw up for me if I'm trying to get City through to the final. You know what I mean? Like that is your. Obviously, the other semi-finals, Palace versus Villa. Palace have got their flaws, they've got the pros. I think every team in the draw wanted Palace, and that's no disrespect to them. They've had a great season, but even Villa. Yes, Villa are great, but Villa will probably give you a little bit more threat, give you a little bit more space to work, and you might then counter that with the threat they've got going forward. But Forest are pretty much the same, and defensively, I'd say they're probably much better than Villa as well. So it isn't a game that I'm necessarily excited or relish in terms of a sort of what City can produce. It is merely, as of most semi-finals, to be fair, but it is merely a case of get a result and then hopefully into the final.
I mean, I think the script is kind of written in itself in terms of how the game's going to go. I expect City to have a lot of the ball and us to be kind of camped behind it and then wait to kind of spring, which I guess some people will say that's boring. I don't know what you might think of that as someone that is a City fan and been used to having the ball all the time, but I'm quite excited for it because of our threat on the counter, and I mean I'd love to know what your injury news is like and your team news, because I know Mateus Nunes played at right back, scored the winner on Tuesday night. I mean, Nico O'Reilly's come into his own, had a bit of a breakthrough half of season, I'd say, coming in, but he's like a centre midfielder playing at left back.
Even since not even half a season, probably quarter of a season, it was the Bournemouth FA Cup quarter final at half time, and there was a lot of City fans. He did score, don't get me wrong, he scored, got a couple against Plymouth in the round prior, 5th round, but it's like rotation, young lad comes in, gets a goal, we don't see him again in the league, but that kind of has been his moment, and to be fair, it's been like 5 games. He's been amazing, but it's been like 5 games, so maybe the jury's still out a little bit there, but I think in terms of City's team, it kind of is just about falling into some sort of, this is what we can expect, at least defensively. Gvardiol has moved from that left-back position to accommodate O'Reilly. He's forged a decent partnership with Ruben Diaz. That's been a weakness for City for most of the season. John Stones has been out injured the majority of it. Akanji's had to have surgery. He's just come back into the squad. The debate for City has been about what are being deemed quote unquote the unks in midfield with Bernardo Silva, Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Kovacic, all of which over the age of 30, which, you know, Bernardo Silva's 30 years old. That isn't old, but when you consider how much footy he has played at an intensity that he's done it at, it's no surprise the legs can't do what they used to do. However, felt like he was excellent against Villa, sort of vintage Bernardo Silva. So I think you can possibly copy and paste maybe 9 for certain. That, you know, obviously injuries play a part here. There'll be no Haaland, there'll be no Edison, no Rodri, but we've known that for ages. Omar Mamouche is getting goals and assists, and maybe his performances haven't necessarily been lighting things up at a top level, but he's providing numbers in an area that City haven't had for you know a large chunk of the season as well, out on that left. So I think the questions maybe Jeremy Doku obviously had a fleeting cameo, but for me he is much better coming off the bench and making that impact as opposed to starting a game, allowing defenders to maybe work him out a little bit. I don't necessarily think he's one-dimensional in that sense, but I just prefer that off the bench if needed as opposed to starting, because sometimes he may give the ball away. It leads to transitions against Forest. That for me is not something you want to be playing into. So otherwise, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Oh, no, Oscar Bob, but he keeps picking up injuries here and there. He wouldn't have. I doubt he'd have played anyway.
Such a shame for him because he had like such a decent season last year. I think if he'd been fully fit this year, I think he'd have had like a full. Right,
I think
he's been probably your star player, maybe.
Even. I think the idea was he would be City's starting right winger. That was certainly sort of the noise heading into pre-season. Yeah, absolutely. But I think you could Phil Foden. Look, obviously amazing last season. He is probably a victim of the environment in a way that he's just kind of been playing at a level for so long. An off season's going to be an off season, and long term won't be thinking too much into that. But this season, the effectiveness hasn't been there, obviously. But yeah, I think that's pretty much that in terms of.
It's going to be interesting to see how Marmouche does, because he came on at the City ground. Haaland didn't really get too much of an opportunity, and I think because he likes to play between the two posts. It's a bit easier, I think, for Milenkovic and Murillo to kind of deal with him in a sense, and have like half a chance against him when he's running in behind, because we're deep, so we're not allowing that space in behind. Whereas Marmouche is a bit more flexible. He can come in deep, he can come and collect the ball and link up play, and I think that's something that we tend to struggle with here and there. So it will be very interesting to see that dynamic. But Amos, what's your score prediction for Sunday? And I'll tell you that what our lot have said, and I don't like half of it, to be honest.
Interesting. I think it'll be maybe not a 1-goal game in terms of only one team scoring. I think it'll be a 1-goal margin. And if it isn't a 1-goal margin, I think whichever team is in the lead will only score their second goal like 88 minutes onwards, like sealing the game. I think it's going to be really cagey. I think it's going to be really tense. If I'm going to make the case for City, I'll say that, first of all, in the last few weeks, they've really found a spirit, and that sounds like pure Sunday league or like grassroots football. Dad manager, you've got to show spirit. You've got to go fight. Exactly. Like, you're not fighting for it. But I think that has been one of the issues for City this year. They've won 4 league titles in a row. They've won a treble. They've been in the latter stages of FA Cups, Champions Leagues for so many years. Like, that motivation at some point will wane a little bit. But I think from that Bournemouth game, in fact, from that Bournemouth second half, in fact, when City came from behind against them, it felt like there was a case of, oh, right, we've got to really we can't get embarrassed like this again. We're Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, whatever players it might be. So I think they have found that spirit again. And that, like I said at the top of the segment, that City have been more sturdy. They've been a little bit more pragmatic. They have been harder to beat. Nico O'Reilly's provided that athleticism in defence. Gvardiol's helped with the build-up. Ruben Diaz is looking, similarly, back to sort of his similar self. So I guess I will have to sort of back back the team that's been there and done it before, and maybe muscle memory plays out for City in this situation, because I know a lot of the Forest players sort of. There's one of the things that I think has gone under the radar with Forest, the fact that you look at the Championship team and you look at the team that's sort of doing well now. There are players that have come across it. It isn't like a totally new squad, but in terms of what we're saying about playing at Wembley, these guys know it, and maybe the bright lights of Wembley Stadium sort of blurs a few Forest players' eyes, and City get the job done. But I think it's certainly going to be tight. I think it's going to be cagey. I think it'll be a close game.
Fair. I mean, I'm expecting it to be tight. Half of our pod team have said it's going to go to penalties again. I can't believe that, to be honest. So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it'll be tight. I am backing us, obviously. I'd be silly not to. But no, it's going to be a great occasion. I'm looking forward to it. And I think if you can beat the best, then you deserve to get there, I guess.
Well,
in a sense.
That's the thing. I think, if I'm being honest, I think the FA Cup winner will come from this match. I really do. I really do. So no pressure, guys.
No, thank you very much, Amos.
Pleasure.
We obviously look forward to talking to you again next season.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Amos, for that. That was Amos Murphy from the City Ramble. I hope you all go have a look, check out the pod I went on theirs. That we spoke about this game as well, which obviously from a Forest point of view. So that was great to have him on. We're going to get into some team lineups. I know Reece, he was a late addition to this, so you can kind of have like a bit of a Simon Cowell judgment on this ordeal. But we're going to start with Lee's team first, and this is what he's came up. So for the audio listeners, it's a 4-2-3-1 with Matt Sells in goal, Harry Toffolo going at right back, Milenkovic, Murillo, Alex Moreno at left back, Nico Dominguez and Elliot Anderson in central midfield, Alanga, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi behind Chris Wood. Lee, I know you already said, obviously, you don't see why Toffolo should lose the shirt. He probably won't, because we don't have any other fullbacks other than Morata, as Reece pointed out. But I can't see him playing there as such. Do you think he'll alter the shape from this lineup as well, like we have been doing with Alanga supporting Chris Wood, or do you think he'll leave him there for that protection, because Alanga can help out?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I probably sent you the fullbacks in the wrong order on the text. I'd probably keep Toffolo in his natural position. I think he might play Moreno at right back, to be fair. If he goes with those two. I mean, this is the team I would go with, just because I think it's going to be a game where absolutely we're going to try and hit them on the counter. And I think that's the best system for us to do that. But I wouldn't be completely surprised if he actually played all three centre-backs against City. Just with everything we've got going on at fullback, he might look for that extra cover in the centre. But yeah, I don't see it as an occasion where we need to worry too much about them. Of course, you've got a plan for what they're good at, but at the same time, we've got to have a game plan to actually go and win the game ourselves. And I just think this is the best team to do that. I think it'd be a shame if we saw one of Elanga or Hudson-Odoi dropped for this one and left on the bench. I get why we do that in certain games to kind of, have an impact with half an hour left or whatever. But ultimately, City are just going to have players on their bench who are capable of countering that. So if we can take the lead in this game, like I've said all season, if we take the lead against anyone, I fancy us to go on and see it through. So yeah, I kind of went with a more positive outlook on the team rather than worrying too much about the threat they're going to pose.
Any comments, Mason or Reece?
That's the team I'd have chose. Literally that. So yeah, it's bang on for me.
Would any of you consider Zach Abbott as a makeshift right back in all of this? Imagine like him getting like. I mean, I know he's played in the cup game. He's played in one cup game, didn't he? He played against Newcastle, but not even played any Premier League or FA Cup football as such. Would there ever be a more daring surprise from a youth player, Mason?
Would I pick him? No, purely because it could easily be the end of him, really. Couldn't it? Imagine if he had a nightmare, got booked after 10 minutes and gets dragged after 15. I don't think you'd ever see him again. I genuinely don't think you would. And that, I don't think Nuno would, one, do that to a young lad, and two, put his team in that position either. So I'd say no, mate. Nothing against Zaga, but I do think he's clearly a good young centre half. But that's what he is, a centre half. I don't think he's a right back. So to put him up against, especially City as well, it'd be suicide, wouldn't it? Really, let's be honest.
Yeah. I tend to agree, but also it's like when do you kind of give him that baptism of fire, I guess. But like, I mean, maybe when needs a must. But we will move on to to Mason's team, should I say? So Mason went with this 11, but with the exception that maybe Ola Aina might not be fit, but we're kind of just speculating at this moment in time. So Matt Sells in goal, Ola Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Alex Moreno. Dominguez, Anderson, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi, Alanga, and Wood making a 4-4-1-1. Mason, I know this has been kind of Nuno's go-to in recent weeks, hasn't it? With Dominguez kind of playing that hybrid right midfielder / central midfielder. You know what he's like. He just runs everywhere, doesn't he? That lad. So kind of helps out with that. I don't know, horseshoe, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, mate, the reasoning behind, obviously Aina's, that's more than likely going to be a Toffolo or Moreno on that side. I just put him in as probably wishful thinking, mate, to be fair. But yeah, I think we played this last time. We played this against City at home. We had Dominguez helping Aina out because it's more than likely going to be a Doku or a Savinho. So yeah, I think for me, you needed Dominguez that side. Hudson-Odoi was really good on that left hand side. I know his goal came from the right hand side against City, but in the first half he was one of our main outlets because they had Nunes, didn't they, at right back that day, and I think you could tell he was scared of him. You could tell he was scared of him when Hudson-Odoi got the ball, and I just think, to be honest, this formation is such a small tweak. Like, they're the same players on the pitch as what Lee's put on, basically, apart from obviously my wishful thinking with Aina. So it could be what Lee said, it could be what I've said, mate. It's just, I think it depends what Nuno sees best fit to deal with them and to hurt them as well, I suppose. But I think Alanga through the middle against City is probably best because unless their new lad plays, I think it's quite quick in the Kusanov guy. But if he doesn't play, I think Alanga through the middle could be a stroke of genius, really, because the centre halves aren't known for their pace, are they? So yeah, I think
No.
it's one of them, innit, mate? Really, it could be Lee's team, it could be my team. We could end up completely wrong, and it could end up being the dirtiest, most horrible anti-football back five you've ever seen in your life. Could have about 10% possession for 90 minutes. So we'll just have to see, mate. But yeah, I think if I was a manager and Aina was fit, I think I'd go for that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I will ask you all a question actually, but in a minute. But Amos did say that Ruben Diaz and Gvardiol have been kind of forming a nice partnership with the emergence of Nico O'Reilly playing left back, even though he's a central attacking midfielder or central midfielder. So it's going to be interesting dynamic. Obviously, Rico Lewis has not always been playing right back. He's been in and out of the team, never really nailed down a spot. So Mateus Nunes played right back, has scored the winner against Villa on Tuesday night. So definitely an interesting one. I think midfield is also very kind of pivotal because of City's over 30 club in the centre of midfield. I mean, not a terrible amount of legs in that respect. So it's going to be definitely an interesting look when it comes to what, I don't know, 3:50. I don't even know when the team's going to be out. I'm not like kind of all over the shop with the kickoff time. Probably what quarter to 3 or something.
3:30 for the FA Cup. I think it's an hour for the FA Cup still.
3:30. Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. We'll go on to my team. So I've kind of gone for a bit of an alternative one, and I've chosen this, which was our team from basically Monday night, other than Toffolo playing at right back and Alex Moreno at left back. I've kind of just shifted certain players into certain positions, so it kind of helps. So Dominguez playing in that hybrid role, as I said. So I've gone for Sells, Toffolo, Milenkovic, Murillo, Alex Moreno. I've gone Anderson and Danilo in central midfield of Dominguez in that right-hand side. Alanga, Gibbs White behind Chris Wood. Reece, do you think there's a shout for Danilo to potentially play? Because I thought he was actually quite good on Monday. Maybe not in possession, but defensively, I thought he was really good.
Yeah, there's always a shout for Danilo to play. He's got to come in at some point and get a few games. And as we see with Danilo, when he gets 2, 3, 4 games under his belt, he becomes a different player again. So there's no reason he can't. There really isn't. I mean, going through all three of your teams, there's no right or wrong answer for every single one of them, and that's a good place to be in. I mean, the only thing I didn't like about Danilo is even though he is left-footed, I don't think he looks the least natural out of all of them. He looks like he struggles is the only word I can think of. It comes across too harsh, but he's the only one who doesn't look as comfortable playing out there and doing it. I mean, against it was Manchester United, wasn't he? He was just absolute fish out of water. Really, really struggled with it. And the way City play with their underlapping, overlapping, I don't know whether he's the right person for it. But once again, I wouldn't look at it and go, "Oh, why is he playing?" But I just think for a more disciplined, rigid, I'd probably go with one of Lee or Mason's.
I tend to agree. I put it out more for an alternative kind of view. And I think because of no Ryan Yates being available on the bench, I can't see him playing three centre mids as such, like in terms of like dropping Gibbs White into that central role and then playing Dominguez out there. I think he's going to need someone off the bench to have that energy, and he's probably that one person that's got that, I guess, with Sosa and Jota, if Jota Silva's available, which I expect him to be. So it's going to be a tough game, as we all know. I mean, what are you expecting from City, Lee, other than possession?
I mean, yeah, you don't know what you're going to get with City this season, do you? Seen them a few times and they've been really poor. I've seen them a few other times and they've been not quite like the City of old. I don't think they've been like that all season, but they're still very capable, aren't they? I mean, I watched them in the last round. They went behind, and after they went behind, they were brilliant. So it's still City. It's still one of the top club sides in Europe, whichever way you want to dress up their season. I mean, it's been a bit of a basket case, hasn't it? I think probably what their season does highlight is that, you know, you take one or two integral players out of any team and they're going to struggle. I mean, they've not had Rodri all season, have they? So, I mean, yeah, next time Rodri comes to agreeing a new contract with City, then he's just going to point back to this season, isn't he? And how dreadfully bad City have been without him in the team. You know, he's just been such a huge loss for him. And do I think they'd have been in the title race if he'd have stayed fit all season? He's that good, isn't he? He just makes them tick. He makes everyone around him play better. So who knows? But yeah, I'm still expecting a tough game. They'll have options all over the pitch, won't they? I think they've got nothing else to play for. I think if they were still in a title race and they were still in the Champions League like they have been for the last God knows how many years, then it might be it'd still be a strong City, but this is their game, isn't it? This is the game that they want to win. They want to win a trophy. They want to salvage whatever's left of the season. And yeah, now it looks like they're going to get in the Champions League as well. It's going to be the strongest possible City team of the players that are fit. Obviously, they're going to be missing Haaland and Rodri still, players like that. So yeah, it's still going to be a tough game. I think like I say, it's a big game for us, and we want to win it because we might not get this. I mean, how long is it since we're in an FA Cup semi-final? 91, was it? So yeah, you've got to grasp these opportunities when they come. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be, like I said earlier, I'd much rather be playing Villa or Palace in the semi and then have City in the final. But if we do win, then it's such a massive opportunity for us to actually win a trophy. And not many fans who go and watch the team week in, week out can actually say that they've seen the team win a trophy in this day and age. So, yeah, big opportunities.
Yeah, Mason, who do you see from City that is someone that we kind of need to be on our game to stop? And if we stop them, we might have a chance of winning. Well, we have a chance of winning anyway. But I mean, like main threat.
For me, I'd probably say Marmoush at the moment. I feel like everything City do at the moment goes not through him. He's usually the bit at the end where Haaland is, but he just seems to have everything in his game. I think he's been really good. And it's also a nod to our scouting team that we've nearly got him. we were literally in talks, weren't we? It was I can remember I was on holiday at the time. And I was checking my phone for a John Percy tweet every 2 minutes, and he did a couple about him. So it's a nod to them as well, because I think he's special, to be honest. I think he's really good. And if it's him, Doku and Savinho, I think pick one, mate. You could pick any. You could pick any of them, can't you? Really, it's the riches that they've got. I mean, yeah, the midfield, like you said earlier, is aging. that doesn't necessarily concern me. I think if we can be our usual selves, I think that's where we can grasp the game and get a good hold of it, really. But them forwards, yeah, they worry me. And I think if they didn't worry, I think you've had one too many Jaeger bombs before or during Box Park.
Yeah, definitely. Reece, just a bit of a hypothetical, I guess. If Olorena is like 80% fit, does he play on Sunday for you, or do you leave him for Thursday in hope that he can play maybe an hour there or something?
No, he plays. He plays. I'd rather come up with an alternative to play against Visser and whoever than Savinio, Doku, and whoever else, just because of the magnitude of the game and the opposition. If the fixtures were the same, but if it was Brentford in the FA Cup semi-final, I would actually say rest him. I just think it's because of how good City can be, how they utilise the wingers, and the number that Aina has done on him. I mean, there's got to be a slight mental edge if Doku looks at that team and Aina's not in it, because those two really battled it out. And I know there was all them fake sort of Snapchats going out on Twitter, weren't they, about Aina saying that he was the easiest player to play against or things like that. But he's actually said it's the toughest opposition, and that brought the best out of Aina for me. So I think he has to play. Unfortunately, it's the position we're in. Like Lee said, these opportunities don't come around very often. So I think Nuno and everyone will be kicking themselves to think if it come out after the game and he didn't play and it's he was fit, it's shoulda, woulda, coulda, and if he does end up getting injured and missing the end of the season, I think there's more than enough. And you've got Nico Williams back in the fold for the Brentford game, so you've got more options to utilise against Brentford. So I just think he has to play for me.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm going to ask you all this before we get our score predictions and everything. I mean, Lee, a couple of seasons ago when we were in the Green Man for the playoff final, did we think in maybe 3 seasons' time that we'd be back at Wembley in an FA Cup semi-final? Or did you think if you got told that he was going back to Wembley, it'd be maybe as a championship team again?
No, I mean, it's a bit crazy, isn't it, that it's 3 years ago. I mean, the Surridge goal away at Peter has been doing the rounds this week, hasn't it? It's just mad what we've done. I mean, I always remember that sort of period. I remember looking at the Premier League the year after we got promoted, basically, and thinking, I think I actually said on the way home, I think it's great that we've got all these fixtures to play next year and we're finally in the Prem, but we're actually going to be in the Prem when it looks like there was just no rubbish in it. You just couldn't highlight any fixture where you thought, yeah, we're going to beat them. You know, like now you'd go up and you'd look at the 3 this year and the 3 last year that came up. Then I was just convinced that it was going to be a year to enjoy in the Premier League, and the money that we'd get from that 1 year would help us, you know, be a bit of a. I think I would have taken a bit of a Norwich or a West Brom yo-yo in between the 2 leagues at that point. But what we've managed to do in that 2 years, and 3 years now, isn't it? But yeah, it's just mad. So no, I didn't expect to be back here. I thought the next trip to Wembley would probably be a playoff final after relegation. I know that sounds really pessimistic, doesn't it? But yeah, it just shows as well that Marinakis is a man of his word. I mean, Jim White always harps on TalkSPORT, doesn't he, about his interview the day after, and he said, "We're not going to be in the Premier League to make the numbers up. We're actually we want to win the big trophies. We want to be competing for titles." And everyone laughed at him. Well, we're now 2 games away from one of the country's big titles, so. You know, I guess it's just testament to the ownership that we've got in charge, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Mason, it's going to be another great occasion on Sunday. I mean, how much are you looking forward to? How much is it meaning to you? I know we spoke on the preview for the Tottenham and asked you about would you rather have FA Cup or Champions League, and you just blatantly were like, no, Champions League. But now it's getting closer. Are you getting more excited and kind of go, we want it all?
Yeah, me saying I'd rather get Champions League doesn't mean I don't want the FA Cup. I mean, I'd be stupid to say that. Yeah, of course I'm excited. I've just got a weird feeling. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I just fancy us. I do fancy us, and I'm excited. And I think, yeah, why not go there and why not beat them? The way our season's gone, I think I'm going to have to say it, Honor. You'd be stupid to write us off. You would. I think you really would, because of the team. We've beat them once already. Even away, I know we lost 3-0 and there were some poor mistakes with their goals. If Wood scores that chance, it's a different game. Completely different game. I think that was to make it 1-1 on the night, or 1-0.
I think it'd have been 1-1.
I think it was 1-1, wasn't it? Yeah, I think if Wood scores that goal, it's a completely different. Yeah, the way we were playing at that time as well. So yeah, I think why not, mate? I'm really excited, and I've been to Wembley quite a few times, obviously to watch England, and obviously with Forest to the playoff final, and it's the first time I'm actually on level with the pitch. So I'm actually really happy to be going and getting a different view, and I don't have to bring binoculars this time.
Yeah, well, me and Reese will have binoculars in, but we'll be starting all the chants, Reese. Don't you worry, pal. You know,
I'll have headphones as well. The amount you sing, mate. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of similar thoughts from yourself, mate. I mean, it's going to be an exciting day out. Hopefully, it's shorts weather as well. I mean, how much are you looking forward to it as well?
It's everything you dreamed of wanting Forest to become, innit? So I'm not going to swear. I'm looking forward to it. I'm buzzing for it. I just hope that it does. We do ourselves justice. I really do. I would, once again, I don't want to sort of go pessimistic. I really don't. We don't go out with a whimper. I don't think we will for 1 minute, but I really hope, even if we lose it, we have a right good bash at it and we show what we're about. Because for me, the FA Cup is like the pinnacle. It's a global competition on a national scale, isn't it? Everyone knows it. Everyone talks about it. So to have your name on that trophy is absolutely huge, and it's everything. And it's a one game shootout basically to get to the final, and then it's any man's game then. So because like Lee said earlier, that the final is a completely different animal again. It's huge for us. It galvanizes the city once again. It gets everyone down there, and it just boosts everyone. And it gives me another opportunity to go down there. So I'm really looking forward to it, and just hope that we come out on the right side. And if we don't, some form of Europe and an FA Cup semi-final, still not a terrible season, is it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, let's get score predictions then. Lee, what are you saying from yourself?
I'm going to go positive. It can't be penalties again, can it? It can't be.
Well, Reese and Danny Tring went penalties, didn't they? In the review of the Tottenham game.
I'm going to say we're going to get it done in the 90. I think it'll be 2-1. I think both teams will score. And you know what? My prediction might change 3 or 4 times before the game actually kicks off. But yeah, I'll go for 2-1 Forest.
Any goal scorers?
Yeah, it'd be quite fitting if Murillo finally scored his long range banger at Wembley.
Scores and points to the pitch. I'm staying, even though it's Wembley.
Yeah, I'll go for Murillo. Murillo's going to score one. I don't know who's going to score the other. Probably Wood. He always scores, doesn't he?
Yeah, fair enough. Mason?
Like Lee just said, I'm probably going to change this a million times. Guts saying penalties, mate. I know you don't want to hear that, but I think it's going to be 1-1 and we're going to win on pens.
Okay. I mean, who's scoring the winning pen? Or is Self saving it? Self saves it.
He's going to come up and absolutely smash it down the middle, and then he's going to get cramp and fall over.
Fair enough. Real. Reese?
I'm also going 1-1. I think Hudson-Odoi. I'm going full redemption arc story and having the same penalty take as Ball Williams from the Newcastle game. And Sangare and the one you both to score it.
Wow, right, okay. Blimey.
And then everyone going on Twitter and saying how Sangare is worth 60, 70 million, and we knew he could do it. We knew we were good. Said he was good all along.
I've said 1-0. I think Hudson-Odoi. I think maybe I think that will play on their minds. I mean, I'd be really interested. Remind you, I think Edison's out injured. No, Amos did say I think Edison's out. So Stefan Ortega in goal again. So Yeah, definitely a weakened City side as well as a weakened Forest side. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to spending the pre-match with all of you at I was going to say Green Man at Box Park, should I say? Yeah, it's going to be a cracking day out. I'm really looking forward to it. The voice has recovered from Monday, so you know what you're all going to get an earful. But until then, we'll see you all for the match review on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy Sunday. Hopefully, it's all a good day out, and hopefully, it's a big sea of red, and we're all celebrating getting to an FA Cup game, FA Cup final, should I say, before we play Brentford. So until next time, come on, you Reds.